But before we get started, if you could all stand and join our very own senior, Lily Hetzel, in leading us in the national anthem. Lily.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Great job, Lily. Please be seated. And if you wouldn't mind just turning your phones on vibrate. So I'm super excited to be here. It has been a wonderful summer. It's been a long summer. I would say schools are the loneliest place in July and August because there are no teachers and students in them. So for me, this is a really big day because all of you are back, and that means that tomorrow our students return. And so I couldn't be more thrilled to be starting off the school year together. And so with that, we are two great communities and we are one powerful school district. And let's just see how great and powerful we truly are. And so we're going to talk a little bit about our reach and our impact. And we just saw a 5-minute clip that really highlighted that. But we're going to unpack that a little bit. And one thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of our presentation here is that this is an interactive presentation. So make sure you're staying on your toes. That's another reason why I'm mobile. So we're going to look at some numbers, and we're going to talk a little bit about how wide our reach is and how deep our impact is in our communities and in our schools. We're going to start with this number, 9,026. Anybody know what that number represents? Say it again? That's our population of Blackstone. That's right. How about this number? Our population of Millville. And so these two numbers are really important. So while we are working with children from both communities, we are in fact interacting with, on a daily basis, over 12,000 people. That's significant. And although our district might be small in size, it is powerful in impact. It's a lot of people to be able to influence on a daily basis. How about this number? 1,713. This is our student enrollment. So these are the children that enroll with us each and, or actually this is last year's number, but each and every year from both of our communities here. And so we think that, there are certainly much larger districts surrounding us. I think it's important to realize that the scope and our reach is significant. How about this number? 134. That's really good. I think somebody saw this before we did this one. Yeah, it's the number of teachers. We have 134 educators. And while each one of you are an absolute force, collectively we are a movement. So we have 134 classroom teachers that are impacting 1,713 kids that are part of a community of over 12,000 individuals. So if you ever stop and think that what you're doing maybe isn't as important as it actually is, stop and think about these numbers. How about 92? Did you guys really see this? I never know 92, that's the most random number. That's the number of our support staff, absolutely. right? And so hence the tagline of a district of 1, 2,000 strong, right? About 1,700 kids, about 300 staff, collectively with everybody included in that. So now let's talk a little bit about our impact. That's a little overview of our reach. What's 92.6%? What does that number represent? Say again? Our graduation rate. This is our 4-year graduation rate. State average is about 80%. So we are doing very well with the students we have. Could we do better? Absolutely. Because I think you would agree with me that until we get that number to 100% and ensuring that every single child is college and career ready, we still have work to do. So we are doing incredible work to get a graduation rate that high, and that's the cohort rate. So that's the number of kids that started as freshmen that graduated in 4 years together as seniors. That's a significant number for us. How about 2.2%? What does that number represent? Say it again? Yeah, this is the percent of kids that dropped last year. And so that number is also equally as significant because those are real lives. And you know as well as I do that even today with your high school degree, some college education, it's still hard. Right? There's still a lot of work that needs to be done in order to make a livable wage to be able to care for oneself and of course your family. So that represents about 10 students, which I know doesn't sound hugely significant, and in most places it's not. That's actually very low. It's below state average. That's still a really important number to note because those are real lives. So we still have work to do here. 97 with 54%. I dare someone to figure that out. What does this represent? Any ideas? Not MCAS. It's our students enrolled in AP courses with the percent passing. And that's important to know. The high school, about 400 students, 97 of them are taking AP courses. Is it exactly where we want to be? Well, not yet. But we certainly, the high school has made really great strides. But I think it's important to note that these students are coming to the high school prepared and ready for this level of rigorous coursework, which means our elementary schools and our middle schools are doing a great job of making sure those kids are prepped for this. So again, we are certainly looking to increase that number, but we are moving in the right direction. And our last number regarding impact, 42%. Any ideas what this is?
Low income?
Not low income, it's actually lower than that.
College bound?
No, college bound. Our college bound numbers are higher than that.
Kids in extracurricular?
Grade 3 reading on grade level. And so this number is important to highlight because we know as educators and as parents, I have a 12 and a 9-year-old at home, and I know many of you are parents as well, or guardians, that it is too late, right? And so we know that it's our goal to make sure that every student is reading by 3rd grade on grade level. And we know that that's not an easy task. We know our students have barriers in front of them, some academic, some non-academic, that make it hard for them to access text on grade level and become fluent readers and be able to code and all those wonderful things that they have to do to be reading on level. But we know that 42% is a number that we're going to stay focused on at our primary grades and really help to move that needle so that we have all students reading at grade level by the time they leave 3rd grade. That's a really important benchmark for us. And so we had a few minutes to kind of, celebrate who we are, celebrate our good work, take a look back at last year and, enjoy some of the successes of that, talk a little bit about our reach and our impact, and I think now it's important to look forward and to, really discuss where it is that we're going. And so here's kind of a high-level overview of our focus areas of work, and I want to share with you that these will continue to evolve. I think next week or the week after I have time set up to meet with each staff individually. And I've got a set of guiding questions that I'm looking for you to give me feedback on to help steer this. But so far, from my transition in from February to my official start in July, I've heard these themes repeatedly from a lot of different individuals and groups that I've spoken with. And so the first piece of the work that we really need to look at is improving and strengthening our what. And that's the curriculum and the resources. I've heard a lot of conversations about we've got some great curriculum in place, we've got some curriculum that's not in place, we have some half-written curriculum, we haven't had all the PD and the training we need for certain things. And so we are going to have a very strong focus on curriculum and resources. We're going to deepen and define our how, and that's our instructional practice. You're going to hear your principals talk a lot about instructional frameworks and really start to define what that is so that we have a common sense and a common language moving forward. And teachers, as a former elementary middle school teacher, I know how important the instructional piece is, and I also know how autonomous and unique it is to the individual teacher, and that's something that we really value. So the idea of having a common framework really will give us a common language, but we really want teachers to do what they do best, which is to teach, and to stay really focused on that work. So we're going to help provide some tools and resources and frameworks for that. The third piece I've heard a lot about are some of the social-emotional needs of our children. And so this is really important because we know that until we can reach a student, we can't really teach a student. And so we have to make sure that we are removing those non-academic barriers and getting them out of their way. I'm seeing a lot of heads. I think you're all understanding definitely how important this piece is. And so we need to do this in a very intentional manner. And so we're going to be really focused on the whole child. We're going to be looking at making sure that we are developing really good citizens, and what we refer to as happy, healthy, and proficient kids. You can't really be proficient until you're happy and healthy. So we're going to be very deeply focused on that. And the last part is we have to bring our two communities together. And I think we saw from the beginning, we have two beautiful towns that are full with significant strengths. And if you had an opportunity to join us on our first District of 1 event last week, and we walked the Blackstone Trail from Millville to Blackstone, thank you very much. It was a great event. We had over 100 people attend, and we're looking forward to having many more of those throughout the year. So we need to celebrate ourselves. We need to come around together around our children and the work that we're doing in our schools each and every day and realize that we really are one team. And so we'll be focused on really pulling those two communities together. And so I just briefly want to look at one piece of this. And I think this is the teacher in me coming out. This is the part that I get really jazzed about. And so, as we look back at these four main areas, this idea of deepening and defining our instructional framework, I want to just highlight a couple of key pieces that can really help us prepare for our learners, right? Which is why we're here. We're here for our students, and I certainly know that all of you are aware of that. But there are three shifts and practices that we can make to really make sure that we are anchoring ourselves and our work and the students that we are serving each and every day. And I'm just going to quickly highlight these three areas: planning for learning, relationships for learning, and climate and culture for learning. And I think you'll notice the key word here in each one of these is learning, right? Because learning implies the learner, which are our students, which is why we are doing what we are doing each and every day. And so the first idea of planning for learning is really shifting from lesson plans to learning plans. And I know as a former middle and elementary school teacher, I would write my lesson plans out for me, right? Here are the things I need to cover, here are the pages, the workbook we're going to do, the projects we're going to do, and the tests we're going to do to wrap up the lesson. And I use that as my guide. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a subtle shift that planning for learning really pushes the educator to make, which is not planning for me, but planning for we, for the classroom. And so asking yourself those key questions: what should students know and be able to do by the end of their lesson? How do they get there, right? As a teacher, what do I do to help that? How do I know when they have it? What do I do when they have it? What do I do when they don't have it? Right? So some of those key guiding questions to assist with that. The other idea is this concept of relationships for learning. And this goes a little bit deeper than just having real strong relationships with your students and talking about their families and how they're doing at home and the things they like to do, soccer, basketball, band, and those are super important things. But this is really building relationships around the student and around what they know and what they need to know. It's really knowing them deeply as learners. And really sending that message to every student that you care about them, that they can do whatever it is you're putting in front of them, and that you won't give up on them. And so those messages are absolutely key as we continue to really push forward deepen our impact. We go back to those impact numbers: 92% graduation rate, the 2.2% of students that are making it through high school, and then of course the 42% of children that are reading at grade level. We know we've got a long way to go with that work still. And so as we start to build our relationships and reset them with students, we want to do it around them as actual learners. And the last piece is really looking at that climate and culture for learning, and that's setting the purpose for why we are in school. And that is to learn as much as we possibly can each and every day. And so students really need to understand the purpose as to why they're there. And as the educators, we need to reset our purpose sometimes too, because we know we have a million things that are flying at us. As classroom teachers, as support staff, as adjustment counselors, as administrators. We know we have a lot of demands on our time. We know we have a lot of competing priorities that need our attention. But one of the key aspects is making sure that we are setting a classroom climate structure that kids feel safe. They feel safe to learn, they feel safe to take risks, and that is really anchored and framed around teaching and learning. And as we move forward through the next few months, we're going to talk a little bit more about some of that, those three areas. And I think, I would be remiss if I didn't mention this last piece, because those other three areas, planning for learning, relationships for learning, climate and culture for learning, need to be anchored in our core values. And as adults, it's critical that we are focused on these. That sense of community, and I think you'll see some themes, that sense of achievement, and that sense of civility and respect, and understanding that we are truly in this together. And again, as individuals, we are all a force, but as a full team, we are a movement. And so I want to just take a minute, and I want to celebrate those that have helped us get to the place that we are at. And so with that, I'm going to introduce to you our Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Matthew Aaron.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome. So I'm going to ask that the individuals who are announced please stand, give a little wave, and be recognized by your peers for your dedicated years of service. For 15 years of service, we have Elizabeth Azevedo, Lisa Deschamps, Richard Langto, Rachel Oliveira, Christine Robertson, and Delia Wolfgang. With 20 years of dedicated service, we have Denise Aller, Karen Bartusek, Deborah Davidge, Diane Derry, Susan Deselis, Tracy Ducharme, Lori Haggis, Deborah Hebert, Terry Langone, Deborah Maloney, Paulette Newman, Lynn Neji, Tina Boria, Laura Reyes, and Janice Torby. With 25 years of service, we have Jeffrey Curran. Gil Pilagalarani. Monique Simard. And with 30 years of service, and we would ask for the following faculty members to please come up to the front. Michelle Blanchard. And Esther Cody.
Congratulations. One more round of applause for everybody. We certainly wouldn't be where we are without the dedicated leadership and service from those that we just recognized. And for many of you, stick with us. I've said this before, I will continue saying it. We will be the #1 district in Blackstone Valley, period, the end. And it will be because of all of you. So how about one more round of applause for everybody here? And so I want to end this. Did pretty good time-wise, right? Yeah. I heard that in the past we were maybe 2.5, 3 hours. We thought maybe we'd make it a little shorter this year. And so with that, we're going to wrap with a little video about teamwork and the importance of us working collaboratively and collectively as one unit. Thank you so much, everybody. Look forward to seeing you in your classrooms. Have a wonderful start today.